Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today I'm doing a branded Despia deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck was actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Meli. And this deck is one of the best decks this format. It's super fun to be able to play and it's one of the most powerful fusion decks ever created. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name scratched in every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron. And definitely give Meli some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Aluber, one of the best cards in the entire deck. This card is super powerful because it has the ability of its normal or special summon. You can add a branded spell or trap from your deck to your hand. You're usually searching your copy of Branded Fusion off this card's effect if you don't already have it. But it's such a powerful card to be able to use in the deck because you can summon it off of Branded Opening, or you can just normal summon this card out to your side of the field, which is just amazing. We then play 3 copies of Fallen of Albaz. Fallen of Albaz is amazing as a 3-of in the deck because this card is basically super poly on legs, which is just super amazing. This card is definitely a 3-of in the build because you're never going to run out of Albaz to go in for your fusion plays because the majority of your fusion monsters in your extract require Fallen of Albaz to go into them. We then play 2 copies of Blazing Cartesia. Blazing Cartesia is such a powerful combo piece in the deck, and it's a definite 2 in the build because if you control Fallen of Albaz or it's in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand, and during the main phase, quick effect, you can fusion summon a level 8 or higher fusion monster from your extract using monsters from your hand or your field as material. And then during the end phase, if a fusion monster was sent to the graveyard this turn, then you can add this card back from your graveyard to your hand, which is just amazing that you can use this card over and over again and even fusion summon during your opponent's turn with that quick effect. We then play a single copy of Ad Libitum. Ad Libitum is just a really good 1-of in this particular build because this card is great if you use it as fusion material because it has the ability, if this card is used as fusion material and is sent to the graveyard or banished, then you can target one of your Despia monsters or level 8 or higher fusion monster that's banished or in your graveyard and special summon it back to your side of the field, making this card a great combo piece in the deck. We then play a single copy of Tragedy. Tragedy is great, but you only need a single copy of Tragedy in the deck. This card is great for searching cards and using as fusion material. We then play one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck that we just got out of Cyberstorm Access, and that's going to be a single copy of Quim. Quim is such a good card because this card is a Despia monster and a Dogmatica card all at once. This card is so powerful and is just exactly what the deck needed because it has the ability, if this card is normal or special summon, you can send a Fallen of Albaz or one card that mentions it from your deck to the graveyard, which is already a great effect to instantly get Fallen of Albaz in the graveyard so you can use Blazing Cartesia. But it also has an amazing effect that if a card leaves the extra deck, except during the damage step, you can target a Fallen of Albaz or a monster that mentions it in your graveyard and special summon it, which is a crazy powerful effect just to instantly get cards back on your side of the field with this card's effect. We then play a single copy of Spriggan's Kit. Spriggan's Kit is really good as a 1-of in the deck just to extend your plays. We then play a single copy of Tri-Brigade McCourier. McCourier is a great hand trap in the deck as a 1-of, but this card is also an awesome combo piece to be able to use in this deck. We then play a single copy of Albion. Albion is really powerful in the deck because it also helps you get your copy of Retribution into the graveyard and a bunch of other cards that you might want in the graveyard, which is really cool. But this card has an awesome effect in this particular build, which is why we're playing it, but it's super good because if this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can send a Fallen of Albaz or a branded spell or trap in your hand or deck to the graveyard and use the following effects depending on where you send it from. If you send it from your hand, you special summon this card from your hand to your side of the field, or if it's in your deck, you place this card on the bottom of the deck. Then if it was placed from your hand, you draw a card, which is a really good effect. We then play just a single copy of Saunier. Saunier is just a really good card to play as a 1-of in this particular build for your combos. One copy of Lubellion. Lubellion is the same reason as the copy of Saunier. It's also a light target, which is really good in this deck, and it's a very helpful 1-of in this particular build to help you get to your copy of your Lost, which is just amazing. We then play the single copy of the Gimmick Puppet. Gimmick Puppet is insane because you can lock your opponent down with Expulsion. It's just such a powerful card to basically lock lock down your opponent. It's really, really good. We then play 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird is one of the best hand traps in the entire format, especially because Super Heavy Samurai is running around everywhere, and this card is just really good at locking down your opponent from touching the deck, which is just really good. We then play 2 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's really good to be able to shut down your opponent, but since we are playing Crossout Designator in the deck, I feel like 2 is totally fine, because we just usually want to use this card with Crossout Designator to stop our Branded Fusion from getting ashed, and plus the deck is already over 40, which is why I bumped this card down to 2. We then play a single copy of Ghost Ogre. Ghost Ogre is really good, but it's a good 1-of in the deck. It's a light target, and you can also use it with your copy of your Crossout Designator to be able to stop from getting hit with Ghost Ogre, which is really good. We then play a single copy of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is also a great 1-of in the deck, but we're using this card for Crossout Designator. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is insane as a 1-of in the deck, getting the exact card you need into the graveyard when you need it. We then play a single copy of Branded in Red. This card is an awesome combo piece in the deck to help you make your copy of Guardian Chimera, or a bunch of other cards that you might want to make with this card, but usually I just make Guardian Chimera with this card. We then play a single copy of Branded Lost. Branded Lost is insanely powerful. This card helps you with your fusion summons, gives you protection when you fusion summons, and also searches out cards when you fusion summon, because if you fusion summon a fusion monster, then you can add a Fallen of Albaz or one monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand. So this card is insanely powerful at searching out cards like Cartesia, your Mercurier, Kit, all those cards. This card is just absolutely insane. You can even get to your copy of Quim, which is amazing. This card is a definite 1-of in the build. We then play a single copy of Called by the Grave just to stop your opponent from hand trapping you while you're going in for all of your plays. We're then playing 3 copies of Crossout Designator. I cannot tell you how many times I played this deck and got hit by an Ash with Branded Fusion when I activate it, and I don't want that to happen anymore, so I've chosen to play Crossout Designator in the deck to basically just stop my opponent from hitting the copy of Ash. It's really worked out extremely well in playtesting, and I really like this card, because once you get your copy of Branded Fusion to go through, you pretty much win the game, which is just insane. So your copy of Crossout Designator is so powerful to combo with your copy of Called by the Grave, and it's just really good in this deck, especially with you being able to play a bunch of situational hand traps that your opponent might be playing, and if they activate one of them, you can just cross out them and stop them in their tracks, which is just amazing. This card is so good in the deck, and I highly recommend it as a 3-of in this build. We then play 3 copies of Fusion Deployment. Fusion Deployment is insane in the deck. You can summon out your copy of Fallen of Albaz and fuse your opponent's field away. You can summon out Cartesia by revealing Dusk Dragon. This card is just so good as in the deck. It's basically your copies of E-Telly in this deck. You're only ever going into fusion plays with this particular build, so this card is a definite 3-of in the build to be able to just instantly get a copy of Fallen of Albaz on the field or get your copy of your Cartesia on the field. We then play 3 copies of the entire deck Branded Fusion. This card is the entire deck. This card is amazing. It's such a powerful fusion spell. The entire deck revolves around this card, and it's such a powerful card to let you fusion summon from the deck. It's such a good card to be able to make your boss monsters, and you always want to resolve this card, which is why we're playing the Call By and the Cross Out with all those other hand traps in this build. It's really good as a 3-of just to be able to make boss monsters, and it's such a good card. We then play 3 copies of Branded Opening. Branded Opening is a definite 3-of in the build just to instantly get a copy of your Luber onto your side of the field, so you can basically search your copy of Branded Fusion and then go off. It's such a powerful card. You can even summon Quim off this card, which is why I'm just playing a single copy of Quim, because it's always treated as a Despia monster, which is insane that you can summon it off of this card, and it's just a really awesome 3-of in the deck. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start off with a single copy of Impermanence. Impermanence is a definite 1-of in the build. Since we are playing Crossout Designator, this card helps out a lot to be able to stop your opponent from using their monster effects and also lock down entire columns, but I'm only playing a single copy of this card because we are just usually using this card for our Crossout Designator. If we do draw into it, it's a great hand trap, but we usually just use this for Crossout Designator. We then play a single copy of Branded Expulsion. Expulsion's really good in this deck as a 1-up, because this card just helps you give your opponent the Gimmick Puppet and lock them down for the entire turn, and then you go into your turn and you usually win because they weren't able to establish a board. This card is absolutely crazy. You just tribute a fusion monster and then target 2 non-fusion monsters that are banished or in the graveyard and special summon both of them, one each to each field, which is easy to do because you put a monster that's really good on your field and you give your opponent the Gimmick Puppet, and then they can't summon during their turn because you activate this effect during your opponent's turn, which is just crazy. This card is really insane, and it's a definite 1-up in the build. You always want to tribute a monster that mentions Fallen of Alvaz as a material to activate this card, which is not that big of a deal because that's pretty much what we're playing in the deck, so this card is very easy to resolve. We then play a single copy of Branded Retribution. Retribution is a definite 1 of the deck to be able to send to the graveyard off of your Albion from the deck, which is just really good to send this card off of Shrouded, because it just helps you out so much, because you can banish this card from the graveyard and then target a branded spell trap in the graveyard, accept this card, and add it to your hand, which is really good to be able to grab your copy of Branded Fusion back to your hand so you can use it again and make another big boss monster or any of the cards that you need. So this card is really, really good as a 1-up in the build. You can also use this card as a counter trap if you do draw into it, which is really nice. So it is a great card to be able to play in this deck. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Mirror Jade. Mirror Jade is the bread and butter of the deck that you're going to want to summon to your side of the field all the time. This card is amazing. It's spot removal every other turn. It's amazing that if your opponent outs this card, it deals with your opponent's cards. And it's just such a powerful boss monster to put on your side of the field. We then play 2 copies of Albion. This card is Miracle Fusion on legs. Also, if it's in the graveyard and was sent there this turn, you can add to your hand or set a branded spell or trap directly from your deck. This is how we set Expulsion during our end phase, which is amazing because then during our opponent's turn, on their first action, we flip it and we give our opponent the Gimmick Puppet and they can't do anything. So this card is really insane to be able to play as a 2-of in the deck. We then play just a single copy of Lubellion. I feel like 1 Lubellion's fine. I've always pretty much been on 1 Lubellion, and this card is amazing to be able to play in the deck because you basically just put your fusion materials back into the deck and then you make your fusion monster. You do have to discard a card to resolve this card's effect, but it's not that big of a deal to be able to use, and it's really good as a 1 in the deck. We then play 2 copies of the Dusk Dragon. In playtesting, I was testing it with just 1, and I kept finding that I wanted that second copy in the extra deck. So I bumped it up to 2, and I never went back. It's really good to be able to play in the deck, and it's a definite 2-of. It does require Blazing Cartesia to be able to summon out this card, plus a light or a dark monster to be able to put on your side of the field. And if this card is fusion summoned, you can send a level 6 or higher light or dark monster from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard, which is such a powerful effect to be able to use to send multiple different targets to your graveyard, and it's just really good in this deck. And if a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field, or opponent's field activated monster effect, except during the damage step, then you can banish this card from your field or graveyard and then special summon a Dogmatica monster from your deck or a Despia monster from your extra deck to your side of the field, which is really good. We then play a single copy of Albion, the Sacred Fire Dragon. This card is essentially like Branded Expulsion on legs, which is why I play this card as a 1-of in the deck. It's really good to be able to play in this build as a 1-of. You only need a single copy of it, but it's a great card. We then play a single copy of Ridbrom. Ridbrom is insane to be able to make with your copies of your Fallen of Alvaz, plus a Beast Warrior, or a Wing Beast. And when a Fusion, Synchro, XZ, or Link monster effect is activated, quick effect, you can negate the activation. Then you can return 1 monster from the field to the hand, which is really good. This card is insanely good in the deck as a 1-of, and it's a walking negate. We then play a single copy of Sprint. Sprint is really good in this deck to be able to use. Sometimes you summon it and it's just really good to be able to use because it also has the ability that you can add to your hand or special summon a Spriggans or a Fallen of Alvaz from your deck, which is insane if it was sent to the graveyard this turn, which is just such a powerful effect to be able to use. It's also very generic because you can use your copy of Fallen of Alvaz that you special summon to your side of the field, plus an effect monster special summoned this turn, which is just really good to be able to use in this particular build. We then play a single copy of Quiritis. Quiritis is such a powerful fusion monster. You can basically drop all your opponent's monsters down to 0 attack if they're not level 8 or higher fusion monsters. It does drop yours down as well, but it never comes up because we're always just making our big fusion monsters. So we're always going to have level 8 or higher fusion monsters on the field, so it doesn't really affect us. So this card is great to be able to put on the field to help you end games. We then play a single copy of Guardian Chimera. Guardian Chimera is great in the deck to be able to make with your branded in red. It's very easy to put on your your side of the field, pop multiple cards, or draw multiple cards, and it's just really good in this build. We then play a single copy of Dracostopalia. Dracostopalia is really good in this particular deck because you can basically use this card as a walking negate for monsters, so it's great. We then play a single copy of Masquerade. I was considering dropping this card, but I really like this card because it makes your opponent really think, because they're constantly going to have to pay life points for breathing, which is just insane. Because while you control this fusion summon card, your opponent must pay 600 life points to activate cards or effects, which is just the best effect. I love that when cards have that, such as Blackwing Assault Dragon, this card, Flare Metal, are my favorite cards in the game because it really makes your opponent think about their plays, and it's super good. We then play a single copy of Despia and Lulu. Lulu is really good to be able to send to the graveyard. You rarely make it, but it's really good in this particular build because it has an awesome graveyard effect that if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, then you can special summon a light spellcaster monster from your hand or deck whose attack equals its own defense, which can be your copy of Quim or Blazing Cartesia, which is really good in this particular build. I love this card to be able to put on your side of the field, but it's very rare to be able to put on your side of the field, but it's still really, really good. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. It's super fun to be able to play. If you guys have not played Branded Despia, you should definitely give this deck a try. It's insane how powerful this deck is. You can summon out some insane boss monsters, and with the new support we just got, it's really just a crazy deck. It's super fun. So that's it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.